Hi, everyone. It's great to be with you. My name is Jaime Arguello, and I'm an associate professor here at SILS. I've been at SILS since 2011. My main area of research is called information retrieval, which is essentially the study of computer-based systems that help people find information. In this lightning talk, I'd like to tell you a little bit about my background, the trajectory that brought me to SILS, and a little bit about my research. Um, so to start at the beginning, I was born in Nicaragua and grew up in Honduras. Both are tiny but very beautiful countries in Central America. After graduating high school, I moved to the US to do my undergraduate degree at Washington University in St. Louis. I majored in electrical engineering with a minor in economics. To be honest, I found electrical engineering extremely challenging, but somehow I stuck with it. It wasn't pretty, but I managed to graduate with a 3.0 GPA, and I was very proud. Looking back, electrical engineering taught me one important lesson. It taught me to stay calm while also being in a state of complete confusion. And this is something that has helped me a lot in my career. In fact, this is something I tell my students. I tell them to try to be okay with not understanding things at first. If you don't feel unease and confusion, then I haven't taught you anything that you didn't already know. After undergrad, I worked for a couple of years as a software engineer. I graduated exactly when the dot-com bubble burst, so I was very thankful to have a job. That being said, for the most part, it wasn't a job that was very challenging, and so it was a bit repetitive, and I wanted more out of life, so I decided to go back to grad school to get back a master's in information systems management from Carnegie Mellon University. While doing my master's, I became fascinated with classes I took in human-computer interaction and information retrieval, and I started to get this crazy idea of doing a PhD. I didn't initially think that I wanted to become a professor, but I thought, you know, if I get a PhD, it'll mean that I'll get to work on creative and interesting things for the rest of my life. And for me, that promise was worth the pain. So getting a PhD was one of the best decisions of my life. I got a PhD from the School of Computer Science at Carnegie Mellon University. My PhD focused on something called aggregated search. So you can think of aggregated search systems as systems that automatically combine results from different back-end search engines. In fact, popular systems like Google and Bing are examples of aggregated search systems. Not just one search system, it's multiple. There's a search engine for web pages, there's one for news articles, one for images, one for videos, one for products for sale, etc. So when you search on Google, Google combines results from these different back-end search engines in a single layout. My dissertation focused on three main problems in aggregated search. First, how do you automatically decide which back-end system to search? For instance, when somebody enters the query Chapel Hill, how do you automatically decide that in addition to displaying web results, maybe you also want to show news results and local business results? Second, how do you decide where to display each group of results? For example, how do you decide that news results should be displayed at the very top because perhaps something newsworthy happened in Chapel Hill that day? Finally, how do you evaluate the quality of an aggregated search results page? In other words, what are characteristics of good layouts versus bad layouts? Towards the end of my PhD, I started thinking about next steps, and I thought that maybe I'd try for academia. I thought, you know, I have nothing to lose, and it's a lot easier to go from academia to industry than from industry to academia. I was delighted to get an offer at SILS. When I visited SILS for my interview, I knew it was a special place. I found the faculty to be extremely friendly and diverse in many respects, including research areas, and that's something that I really value. I also knew that SILS was an environment where the faculty want you to succeed. And so I've been at SILS for now 8.5 years, and I consider myself very fortunate. Now I'd like to tell you a little bit about my research. So my PhD was really systems oriented. Since coming to SILS, I've moved more towards the human side of things. So I still build systems and I use algorithms to automatically do things. However, my current focus is mostly on understanding people and building tools to provide searchers with a better and more rewarding experience. I work closely with Dr. Rob Capra, and I'm part of a research lab called the Interactive Information Systems Lab. Currently, we have lots of ongoing projects. However, I'd like to tell you about four common themes that I think are part of all the research that we do. First, one theme is that we focus on understanding searchers. So we study factors that influence how people search and what challenges they face. These factors could include either characteristics of an individual searcher, characteristics of a system, or characteristics of the task a searcher is trying to accomplish. So that's one theme. The second theme is that our research typically focuses on complex information-seeking tasks. So systems like Google are already pretty good at helping users with simple tasks, right? Like, let's say I want to find a fact like what's the capital of Honduras. However, they provide less support with highly complex tasks. Now, you might be thinking, well, what makes a task complex? What are characteristics of complex tasks? And in fact, many of our projects have focused on precisely that question. What makes a task complex? Third, many of our projects focus on building and evaluating novel interfaces and tools that alleviate some of the challenges faced by searchers. These include tools that not only help you find information, but also tools to help you organize the information that you're finding. Fourth, all of our projects rely on lab studies. So we conduct studies that involve study participants. So we bring people into a lab. These days, we're doing most of these studies on Zoom, well, all of these studies on Zoom. We typically vary one or more things, so there's usually some type of experimental manipulation. Perhaps participants complete tasks with different systems. And then we measure and compare outcomes. And so, for example, we might see how participants perceived their experience and whether there are differences in perceptions depending on the study manipulation. So those are some common themes in all of our projects. We focus on understanding people. We typically focus on complex tasks. We develop and evaluate novel interfaces and tools, and we use lab studies involving humans to answer research questions. So hopefully this talk has given you an idea of who I am and what I'm interested in. If you're a student, please feel free to reach out if you're interested in possibly getting involved in some of my research. Also, if you're a student and you want to know how search engines work, you might consider taking my information retrieval class. And if you're a student who wants to know how machine learning works, you might consider taking my text mining class. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you are all staying safe and well during this challenging pandemic. Thank you.